This is me. This is also me. I've been in the business for 21 years, all in Manhattan. Sad. All in Manhattan and the parts of Brooklyn that are closest to Manhattan. And I was with Douglas Sullivan from 2003 to 16, and then came over to Keller in 2016 and started teaching this negotiation class. And at this point, I've probably done it about 200 times, I'm guessing. Each time it's a little bit different, and I'm 100% open to questions at any point. But we can do a lot of questions at the end. 21 years of the business, not only a luxury business, but working at every price point. And I've sold close to $1 million of real estate over the last 23 years. So done a few transactions and have obviously negotiated a ton. So when I came over, I was really impressed that the top agents and lawyers were like opening their books, showing everybody what they were doing. And I thought about like what my superpower is, and it's definitely negotiation. I always start my class by telling the story. When I was a kid, I had $1 for every time a parent or teacher said, Seth, this is not a negotiation. I never got into real estate because I would have been retired. And I used to say, I'm not negotiating. What I should have said is, everything in life is a negotiation. I'm just not going to win this one, right? Like, we don't win all negotiations. We do the best we can, given the market, given the motivations of the people we're dealing with. And if we negotiate with, we negotiate with everybody. To me, the most important negotiation is the negotiation for clients, because that sets up the expectations, removes the negatives, which allow you to negotiate better on their behalf, price their apartment better, have them understand the value that they can get as a buyer better. So the most important negotiation is 100% negotiation for clients. Then the negotiation on the other side of the transaction is almost as good. So keep going to that. So why do we want to be negotiators? Easy answer, because it's our job. You know, we negotiate for a living, but again, I started with talking about the negotiation with your clients being the most important. We get paid the level that we can convey our value to our clients, right? So if we can negotiate for value, if we can negotiate how commission is a tool used to attract other people to your property, we have a better chance of achieving higher commissions. So I know we're not really supposed to talk about numbers, but there's a number that I strive for, and there's a number that I'm always often requesting. And it's about 17% difference. So when I'm talking to my sellers, I'm talking about commission as a vehicle for them to attract the most people. You're only a shiny object once. You don't want to be a listing that is not encouraging the most amount of participants to come to your property. So from that perspective, we're working to get higher commission, but we're also talking about the fact that not every real estate agent, like for instance in New York City, we have 30,000 real estate agents. There's only about 6,000 sales transactions a year. Two sides, not for all, but let's say there's 10,000 sides. There's 30,000 real estate agents. That means 2/3 of the real estate agents in New York City are doing no sales. It was a 1-1. But there's agents that are doing 200 of those transactions. So there's probably 25,000 of the 30 that aren't doing a sales transaction this year. New York real estate, we also have a huge rental component. 65% of people in New York City rent. So they're making some money, but they're not doing sales. So when I'm talking to sellers, you know, they think real estate agents are self-interested, right? So instead of sweeping that under the rug, I talk about my own self-interest, which is I want to sell your property for the most money because that attracts your neighbors. That encourages you to give me referrals. I do not hide my self-interest, but I also don't minimize the fact that they think real estate agents are self-interested. And I tell them, even if it's not on purpose, if there's two properties that are exactly the same, yours being one of them, and the other one's offering more commission, that agent that's doing one transaction this year, which one do you think we're going to buy in stores? Let's make sure that we cast the widest net And that little bit more commission that we're talking about, we can just put that in the price. So we're trying to understand the motivation. We're trying to move the negative, which is commission, and making it a positive. It's not what you spend, it's what's left in your pocket when the dust settles, right? So we're talking about net. This is a strategy to net you more money. So what happens when you get higher commission, you make more money. Probably the most important thing is in Keller Williams, they call it return objections. I actually don't like that. I call it speaking to concerns. Speaking to concerns. Like actually having a conversation about your concerns, not having a script where I'm just batting away your objections. Like that's not going to get you very far. Whole premise of negotiation, the premise of working with clients is to ask them questions, to actually pause and listen, understand their goals and motivation, and then design a strategy around their goals and motivations. So you don't have the same plan every time you walk in or every time you get on the phone with a client. It's all based on what your goals are. And not everybody's goals are the same. I bought a property 2 years ago for 1.8 million. I need to sell it for 2 million in New York to break even. But if I bought it 40 years ago for 80,000, maybe my motivation is easy, quick, so I can move to my grandkids at work. So we're not going into every conversation thinking that it's going to be exactly the same. You know what to say in different situations. And it's kind of like 10 goals. I really don't believe in scripts. So I don't believe in scripts and I don't believe in objections. So don't tell anybody in Keller Williams they said. But what happens when you understand the client's motivation? You get better results. And the better results you get from your clients, like they think we want to do this today. They think we just want to get it sold. My most important messaging to my client is I want to get the number higher than you. Because when I break a record, I'm in a vertical market, and you guys have a lot of condos here, I assume. Yeah. All the neighbors hire me. I do something good in a building. Next thing I know, I sell the next client units in that building. And I tell them that. I want them to know that this is not just something I'm going to just put on internally. I also tell people, and I would write this down, I am your advisor and consultant for free starting now. Independent of when you transact, you've got a free advisor and a free consultant. Obviously, when you transact, I will get paid, but independent if you never transact, you have me as an advisor and consultant. What does that do? Gains trust. Serving myself as their advisor. I just told them I'm your advisor. So language and messaging, it's confidence, right? It's not cocky. Like Allison knows me pretty well, I'm not a cocky guy. But I walk in, I'm very confident with my clients because I'm a coach, right? I've done this a million times. And if you haven't done it a million times, guess what? Market Center has. So I say when you don't have enough we, leverage the we, and use the language of the we, right? We've experienced this, we've that. Never walk in and convey that this is like new to you, right? You want to hone your skills, you want to hone your craft, which is language. You want to use the correct words, you want to be confident without being pushy. And you always want to, my mantra, come on in, the water's warm. Never want to push people away. Even when I'm negotiating with the other side, I'm trying to put them at ease and get them to do what we want diplomatically, right? We're never beating people over the head. We're not paying it in 5 minutes if you don't give us a response, we're moving on. I'll get to how I do that without saying it, right? So better results, more business. My business is 97% referral, and 3% is brand of people that reach out. I'm not paid for a lead in 21 years in business because I look at this business as planting seeds. And you plant the seeds with your clients by earning their trust and getting the right results for them.
I have
Yes.
a question for you. You mentioned earlier on the 30 commissions that there's 17% difference. What's that difference?
Well, that was what I wasn't going to say on camera.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, okay, and you mean between what you take and what you,
No, 17% difference between what I ask for my side
yes,
and what they always ask me to do.
okay.
And what I want them to offer to their
Say
clients.
that, you mean 17%?
No, 17% difference in the number. Okay, 3% of the buyer,
Yes.
it's agent versus 2.5 is
Got it.
17% difference.
Okay. I'm following.
But I'm not saying that you should be using those numbers.
Yeah.
Just an example, right? But gotta be careful these days. So, negotiation is, a lot of it is reading people, right? Some people are better at that than others. So I love this quote because if you're not somebody that's naturally gifted at reading in the lines, you're not going to naturally be as good at negotiating. However, if you learn to shut up, ask questions, and listen, real estate agents are very chatty people. The goal is to give them a runway to tell you everything. Like, there are times when I purposely just shut up, press mute on my phone, I'll go on Facebook, and I create the most awkward silence possible, and until they start talking. Like, I'll get on another phone call, put them on hold, and then as soon as they start talking, I'm extracting information that I can use for my clients. Again, there's all information is good. Some of it's better than others, right? But like use the example, they're asking a question about an offer, and I'll go to it later. I just shut up and let them talk. They're going to say, "Well, it's an opening offer," or they're going to say, "We've got offers on 5 properties. This is where they want value." Again, that's not what I want to hear. At least it's something that I can take to. So it's always about information. I used to say, "He who talks first loses," but I actually changed that. I actually want to talk first. Ask the question and then shoot. So he who talks second wins. First one's then. So, again, don't report this to KWRI. This is their standard definition of negotiation. It's basically 2 parties trying to achieve a goal, right? In this case, it's real estate. For me, it's much more simple. Figure out what motivates who you're talking to and connect to their motivation in order to maximize your right? Like, if you understand somebody's motivation, you've got 90% of the job done, right? Understanding your clients, understanding the motivation of the people on the other side of the transaction, that is everything. That gives you the roadmap to then use your skills at pricing, your skills at show, your the media, whatever it is. But this is 90% of our job. It's understanding the motivations of your client, aligning your strategy with their motivation and goals, and learning as much as you can about the motivation, goals, and timeline of the people on the other side. Because that lets you know how far you can push. It lets you know how to talk to them, right? Like, somebody's going through something, and you find that out through the seller's agent, through the buyer. You may talk bigger, may not push it. If they're emotional, they're probably going to respond for it, right? So it's super important to understand what's going on the other side of the transaction. So it's not just your client's motivation, it's certainly motivation of the person. So I've been nicknamed story time Seth. I have a story with each of these, but I'm only going to pick up. And the reason I have notes after teaching this class over 200 times is because I'm story time Seth, and this keeps me honest. So I used to not have to lie on my lists, but I kept getting questions from people about. So not only did I put it on there, I had it on there first. So obviously we know we were taught this in kindergarten. Lying is not good. It's not just that it's unethical. Lying will cost you in a negotiation. It usually comes to the surface. Somebody knows that's not true. It's a small world in the brokerage community. We do not want to get a reputation of being dishonest, right? It's not bad to have a reputation of being good at your job, being a tough negotiator, but it is bad to have a reputation of being a liar. So the story that I have behind Don't Lie, this was last year at my old company, it's 2015. We had a buyer interested in a property at 151 West 17th Street. It was asking 1.85 million. And I was negotiating, we started at 1.7, I think we came up to 1.75. The agent on the other side said to me, Seth, we've got a full price offer, 1.85. So you guys have to come up. I hung up the phone. My office showed a hallway with my friend Tracy, who had the next office. We kept our doors open. This was no study. And she was like, oh, did he tell you that he had a $1.85 million offer? I said, yeah. She said, that was me. We withdrew it desperately. So my client was willing to go up to 1.8. However, I knew that he was between a rock and a hard place in a line left, right? So now he has to go to his seller and explain that he had two offers, and now he's got them. So because he lied to me, I knew I could put him in one, right? Like you've got to think about what's going on with him, with the seller, and with my buyer. My buyer loved this strategy. He's a hedge fund guy. We're going to do this. So I called it back and I said, you know what? Just spoke to the seller or the buyer, and we see value up to 175. I always say we see value. Not can we get it at 175? We feel like it's 175. We see value up to 175. I have a very savvy buyer who's going to transact where he sees value. We see value up to 1.75. Because of this other offer, we're going to continue our search. However, remember, one was always more, and never push people away. And I knew they were going to come back to us. I said, we're going to keep looking at property. And if he finds something, he's going to move forward with it. If he doesn't, and you want to transact with us until we find something, we're still on that. About 2 hours later, we got it at 175. My client was willing to go to 185. This guy lying and me catching him up to his client $100,000, saving my client. Right? So, pay attention, talk to people in the brokerage community, talk to the doorman in the building, try to extract information. The more you know, obviously, the better armed you are in every situation. So, listen more than you speak. That's hard for a audience, especially after like 2 drinks. You can't finish. So, I have to force myself to ask questions and be quiet, right? I have to force myself because I know that this is a big part of the job, is listen. So do you guys show your own properties or is most of them? So we do. Okay, so we show every single property. There's no lock boxes in New York City. You either get let in by the doorman, the agent's there, or you buzz, maybe about 2 hours. There's 2 agents in every show. I have a admin that lives in Houston. Her job is just scheduling appointments because it's that complicated. Like literally, that's all she does. So, what's that? I have crazy allergies. I'll try. My nose is all congested, but or maybe I'll just walk back. So we show all our own properties. So I don't point out the kitchen. I don't point out the window treatments. If there's something that separates the unit, like we're priced better than the one that didn't have this view or something like that, I'll just drop the breadcrumbs. The whole thing is breadcrumbing at this point. It's also, if I know that there's something that they're going to see online that I want to remove, I'll remove that negative before they get there, right? So when they come in, I'm not pointing out the kitchen. They know what a bathroom is. They know what a white countertop is. I'm not pointing that stuff out. I'm being very friendly. I want to create a really warm environment. I want to build trust. But I also want to ask a couple of very key questions. And I do it very, very gently. So we're walking around and I'll say, oh, you guys just looking in the Upper East Side. Because we tend to have a lot of properties. So if we have something else that's coming, we'll let you know. And that's how I get them to give me the information. I tell them we have a lot of listings. We may have something else that it is. So that gives me permission to ask them a couple of questions about their search by saying that I might have other inventory, right? So one example, this was also at 2015 actually. A client of mine, I knew her and her husband forever. We've done 4 or 5 transactions. So I did the comparative market analysis for them. It looked like we should be priced around 145, 1475. They said, we're not in a rush. Could we try 157? I said, I wouldn't advise it, but for you guys, we can do it. However, in the listing agreement, you have a 5% price reduction built in after 2 weeks. And if I think the property needs a price reduction, I always put it in the listing agreement with a specific time frame attached. Why do I do that? I'm removing it negative, setting an expectation. Then they come to me and say, Seth, is it time for the price reduction? As opposed to me springing it on them. And they're like, wait, but you priced it at 1575. Why are you coming to me now? So we have that conversation up front. We set the expectation, we rip the negative. So these people, we listed at 1575. We got a cash accepted offer of 15 at the first open house. They backed out. The next open house, we got a cash accepted offer of 1475. They backed out. So now we've been on the market for about 2 weeks. My clients reach out to me and they say, Seth, should we lower the price? I said, let's not do that just yet. So I'm actually now fighting them on the price reduction the other way, right? Because there was somebody who came to those open houses. I could tell they liked the property. They were just a little slower. I reached out to their agent, who at the time was the #1 agent in New York City for corporate. So this was not a dumb agent. So I called her, got them in. And when they were there, I asked them, are you just looking in the Upper East Side? No, we're just looking in this specific school district. So now I've got the geography. We're at 1575. Are you looking up to about 15, 16? No, we can go up to 18. So I just asked 2 questions and I got 3 pieces of information. The first one is the geography. The second one is the price point. And then the third one is they want to be in that school district. It takes 3 months to close a co-op in New York City. This was April or May. I knew that they needed to go into contract now in order to get their daughter into school. So what did I do? I went straight to my computer, looked up to 1.8 in that geography. So we were the only property on the old, right? That's why we don't price in a vacuum. We price against our competition, and sometimes there isn't competition, so we can push the price, right? So I called their agent, and I said, it seemed like you guys love it. As you know, we've had a ton of activity, which she knew. I said, because of the level of interest on this property, we're going to invest in finding with the deadline 5 p.m. Thursday. The level of interest was there. I didn't say we had 6 offers. I said, because of the level of interest. We priced at 1575. I think we got 1625. We're about to lower the price to 147. My clients were so happy. They wrote a testimonial letter, or they let me write a testimonial letter where I said I didn't kick the dog, I was nice to the kids, all that kind of stuff. So we sent it to that entire building, we sent it to the surrounding buildings, and I can count 10 listings I got from that negotiation.
So what you ended up selling for?
1625, and we're about to lower the price to 147.
So
Yes.
what is, I guess, the mindset when you're talking to these potential buyers? You're not their agent, but you're able to get them to tell you how much they're willing to spend on the property. In a way, they're giving up their own leverage type of things.
Well, I'm not asking them what they're willing to pay for this property. I'm asking them what their budget is, because we do have a lot of listings, and we're one of the top listings teams in New York City. So it's not as if I potentially won't have another listing, but it's what's giving me permission to ask. We're very benign questions. Like, I'm not asking at that moment in time what their net worth is. I'm not asking anything except, are you just looking at this location? And just in case I have another piece of property hitting the market soon, what is the budget? Just so I can let you know. You know, it's, go through the back door.
Yeah.
But I'm asking for permission. So be confident. We talked about it before. I never use words I feel or can. It's always, in order to get this done, we need to. When I'm talking to agents and the others. And when I'm talking to my clients, I'm not telling them what to do. I'm telling them stories from past clients' successes, using that as breadcrumbs for them to make the right decision. With my clients, I never tell them what to do. I tell them what I think they should do. and I tell them stories of people's success. The choice is always first, right? So you want to be really good at breadcrumbing your clients to be in the smart camp as opposed to the dummy camp. Because there is always a dummy camp and a smart camp. And the clients want to cut corners and oftentimes put themselves in the dummy camp and they go, right? So you have to be strong, telling stories of your past clients' successes or your past clients' failures. They didn't stage, they were on the market for 30 days, they wound up staging, but they wound up 15% less than they would have if they staged right. They have an actual story attached to them. And again, if you don't have those stories, ask people in your markets for those stories, they can say, we. So you'll always have a story, it just might not be all, right? So be confident, do your research. There's nothing that impresses and conveys value to your clients more than knowing the market, right? If you can speak intelligently on the market in terms that they don't have access to through Zillow, you're their guy, you're their woman, you're their man, you are their person. If they think that you have access to information that they don't. So a few years ago, I hired a New York City data analytics company, and they put together a chart for me with 12 metrics. And I could break it down by bedroom count, by neighborhood, by property type. And it automatically gives me 12 metrics as pulls from all the different aggregators. So I have supply month over month. I've got demand month over month. I've got market pulse, which is the ratio of active to contract, which shows the relative strength of the market, right? A lot of our clients are finance. They love when we talk about market pulse because that's the market score that they use for different segments in finance. Days on market, absorption rate, average listing discount from past, how many properties go above ask. There's a bunch. But I'm able to talk month over month, year over year with the buyer the first time that I talk to them. They're not seeing this on Zillow, so you're negotiating your amount, right? But it's also important to do your research because when you wind up negotiating the other side, if you don't know all the information, you might be negotiating wrong. I'll use another example, another story. I had a listing at East Fifth Street for parking licensing a few years ago, and my client bought it. It was apartment 4A. She was afraid of elevators, but she thought she could get over. Fortunately, we didn't sell her first floor apartment yet. She went in the elevator once. She called me. She said, "Seth, we're selling this." She bought it for 1.1 million. I said to her, most we can put this on the back of the market for is 119 times. You can't just instantaneously put it on for higher. So she signs the listing agreement, we get the photos, we're about to list, and there was a recorded close for 8A. This is 4 floors higher, same apartment with a view. Ours did closed for 800. So what's going to happen? Every single person, before they negotiate with us, they're going to look at the recent sales, and they're going to say, "We're crazy. The building's worth 800, or actually it's worth 750 because they have the deed." So I asked around the building. I met a long-term tenant that showed her the building, and I asked her if she knew what happened. She said, "I don't. Give your phone number up on the board and let you." So what happened was that was a sale of a parents for dog. And the 800 was the lowest price that the co-op would allow to be recorded. So every single time somebody called or emailed to make an appointment, I would say, "As I'm sure you saw, urban 80 sold for 800,000. That was an internal family sale." Do people do research before they make an appointment? No. What am I doing? I'm telling them they're a great agent. Of course you saw this. But more what I'm doing is taking away the negative before it gets cemented in their brain. Because humans, I mean, Joel and me can get traded to the Knicks, but I already cemented in my head what I'm thinking of. It's going to be very hard to change that quality to the Knicks. So you got to really get ahead of people's cementation, right? So be creative. Just because it's not typically done doesn't mean you can't do it. As long as it's not illegal, there's no reason that you can't do it. So in New York City, we get taxed on everything, right? We're about to start getting taxed for driving our own cars in our neighborhoods. But there's a 1% tax on the purchase of properties over $1 million called the mansion tax. $1 million in New York City is not a mansion, but it's a mansion tax. So what happens when we price something at $1,040,000? Everybody wants to get it for $900,000. And I just saw that when I came into the industry, that everybody was negotiating when it wasn't a really strong seller's market down to $990,000. So my brain says, why is the seller trading $55,000 to save the buyer $10,000? That's not a fair trade. So what I started doing was I built in the mansion tax into the price, bumped it up $10,000 on anything between 1 million and 1.1 million. And we put in the first line of the description, seller paying mansion tax. What does that do? It removes the negative, but it sets the expectation that it's going over $1 million, right? So it's never done. Like I never see people do this, but I do it every time. Also, we put 10% deposits down with our signed contracts. So $2 million property, $200,000 down payment. It's not a $500 escrow or $1,000 escrow. It's $200,000. And if you waive your mortgage contingency, which you have to do in a lot of properties, if something happens, you lose $200,000, right? It's a lot of money. So what I started doing is we put the 10% down and waive the mortgage contingency. When we make the offer, we're only 2% of the sales price is in jeopardy. So we're showing the other side that they're skin in the game without jeopardizing $200,000. Yeah, I've never seen anybody else in my market do that. But people accept it because $40,000 seems to be adequate skin in the game, right? We're not going to just back out, but we're saving potentially $160,000 of shit instantly, right? So remember, we were negotiating with two. You're negotiating with a developer, a home builder, a sponsor. They don't care about anything but optics, right? So someone who's selling their individual property and they're moving to Florida, they don't care about the optics. They care about their bottom line, right? What's in their pocket. So I went to a wedding in India, well, a few of them. But I went to one in 2007. I met one of the creators of Mining Water, right? Like just sold the company. He made $500 million. He was working with a different real estate agent when he showed up at that wedding, but then he was working with me when he left the wedding. It was 5 days, you know? So we come back to New York. It's 2007, 2008, maybe by the time we got the big $10 million new construction. So it's the 17th floor of a new construction in Tribeca. But it's not done until 2009. What happened in between? The world ended, right? So he actually had a 15% deposit down, 1.5 million. He called me and he said, Seth, tell him to keep my 1.5 million. I don't want the property. I said, what do you think the worst case scenario is for loss of value? He said, I think it could be as much as 30%. Well, I said, you're willing to walk away from $1.5 million. So all I've got to do is get you $1.5 million more, right? I wound up getting in $3 million. This was the penthouse. They had about 80% of the building yet to sell. I knew that they didn't want their penthouse to fall out of contract. I negotiated $1 million equity credit, plumbing charges and taxes for like 5 years, a $500,000 parking spot, which is real in New York City, $500,000 parking spot in this building, and we got $3 million off. The developer gets to show $10 million. My client gets the benefit of $3 million reduction, right? So when you're negotiating with developers, think optics, think back end, because they're going to be way more likely to trade on the back end what doesn't show public facing, right? So be collaborative. Everybody's my buddy. Everybody's my friend. Even the people I can't stand, I treat them as my friends. There's a lot of real estate agents in New York City that I don't like, but I treat them the same way I treat people I do. Everything is, you know, especially if something's overpriced or if we're trying to get a big reduction, I say to them, I really empathize with you. You're a good agent. I'm sure you want a price, and this was what the sellers were. So now I'm being sympathetic. But I'm being sympathetic because I'm about to gut. right? So I'm sure that you put it on the plate, and I'm sure you understand it's going to stay on the market for a while, and you're going to get to this lower price anyway. How about we work together to get this done, right? And now I've got a co-conspirator instead of an adversary, right? I'm always telling people, let's do this together. This is, this is where this thing should trade. Let's work to get it done, right? This is where it should trade. I don't say, don't you think this is where it should trade? I tell them, this is where it should trade, right? Always telling people definitive things, and I'm using research, right? I'm not just making up a number, but I might skip something and use something else. Like, obviously, there's a lot of information out there, and you're putting together a compelling argument, right? That's the goal of doing research. So be collaborative, remove negatives. We talked about it already with the price, 800,000, 1.2. But also, if you have something really wrong with the apartment, so like a few years ago, I had Hillary Clinton's best friend's apartment. It was awesome. 2,500, 2,600 square foot pre-war building, 15-foot ceilings, 3 bedrooms, but it faced a brick wall in every window from this far away, right? So we were priced at 265 when that same property could have been priced at, close to 5 million if it didn't face a brick wall. So every time somebody would come into the apartment, I'd say, hey, nice to meet you. You just see this. So instead of waiting for them to think of this as a negative, remember, you want that to cement in their brain. I'd say, come check this view out. They'd say, it's a brick wall. I'd say, well, you've heard of $1 million view? This is a $2.5 million, right? Because everything in New York is a trade-off. Everything in life is a trade-off. Everything in Philadelphia is a trade-off, right? So this is an ability, this window, this view, it's an ability for you to get a $5 million property for 2.65. So instead of that being the albatross around our neck that dragged us down, I got 2.65 cash for a property that for a lot of people would be really hard to sell. Because we're conveying the value by removing the negative, right? So always stay calm. Not easy in real estate. A lot of so it's you're the profession. I don't like to use the doctor example. Like a lot of people will say, well, I'm a professional. You would listen to your doctor. Well, the doctor went to school for 12 years. You went to real estate school for 45 hours. I don't love that analogy. I use CPA because it's a little bit closer.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more respected. So I use the CPA. But for this example, you don't go to a doctor and they're all worked up because they have test results. What do? They try to calm you. They try to tell you what's going to happen. They set expectations and they're very calm. So I like to think of us as real estate agents as doc, D-O-C-K. I was on a podcast and they think I said duck. And I was so confused what they were talking about. So I always spell it out now, D-O-C-K. And your client is a boat that you're keeping tethered. The market, the people on the other side, everything is the tide. And your job is to keep them tethered and as calm as possible. It's not your job to say, yeah, that agent's a jerk. Oh my God, can you believe that this happened? You're a professional. You've dealt with this a million times. And of course you can believe that this happened. You've seen everything, right? That's why they hire you. You've seen everything. Or the collective we has seen everything. So if you get really emotional, you lose your credibility as a professional, I think. And you're more likely to have buyers back out. Sellers say, I'm not selling to that person, right? So how do I keep them calm when they hate the person on the other side? Well, here's the good news. Once they buy it and you move out, you don't have to be their roommate. You can move someplace else. Or if it's the buyer, like, thank God when you close, they move out. You're not going to make any roommates. This is an opportunity. You've got a good number here. You want to get ahead of this. The market's doing this, the market's doing that. And we're keeping them focused on the value and the achievement of their objectives and not allowing them to get caught up in the emotion. As soon as you get caught up in the emotion, the whole thing's touring. And I have agents that tell me they're freaking out Like, I love this. Oh my God, I love that they're freaking out. Let me bring it in, give them a card, and then get them to do what we want, right? So just be calm, be confident, create urgency. How do you create urgency on a property that's been on the market for 480 days, right? Price reductions, of course. But there's always a story. Typically, when something's been on the market for a long time, my client didn't want to stage, we didn't want to do the repairs, we took it off the market, we did the repairs, we staged, and now we have an incredible amount of interest, right? I never say we have 6 offers when we don't, even when we have 6 offers, I never say we have 6 offers. I don't keep people guessing. I say because of the level of interest, but you can create urgency through a story. Oftentimes we have tenants in our property that don't want to let us show all the time, and that takes up days. Or there were 3 deals that fell apart. Whatever it is, you can use these anecdotes to explain why things are different now, right? Something has changed. Something's always changed. You just need to do a little bit of thinking as to what has changed.
What will be your, there's kind of a lot of things. It's sitting with Paul saying that I don't want to I would do certain years.
I would say if we have no offers, I would say if we have offers,
Or either one.
either one, if we have offers, yeah, we've got offers. How many? Oh, my seller really doesn't want me to disclose that, but I can tell you there's a ton of interest. It's not the law, at least where I live, that I have to disclose how many offers there are. Why would I give them a piece of information that either repel them or make them feel more comfortable? Oh, there's only one other offer. You feel comfortable. There's 9 offers. Oh, let's go someplace else. My goal is to get as much interest and as many offers as possible. Why would I possibly want to repel people? So I also tell people, you know, in New York, we have columns, right? So it's not just the number, it's also their financial picture. You guys don't have that. So what I tell people is, obviously price is important, but terms are really important. So I wouldn't be discouraged. I would throw your hat in the ring because we're looking at so many different criteria that I don't know what they're going to accept, right? So why am I doing that? Because I want 10%, right? I don't want people to feel discouraged. Oh, we're only putting 20% down. You have cash offers. Well, cash is not the only thing that we're thinking, right? We're thinking about board possibility. There's so many other things, time frame. You know, I just want them to feel that it's worth a shot to put an offer. Because guess what? I have 5 of my listings. You know the story. Last year, so I think we just talked about it. 5 of my listings last year is in Florida. On Monday, 2 people backed out. 2 of my listings. On Wednesday, somebody backed out, and Thursday and Friday, somebody else backed out. 5 of my listings had accepted offers. On Monday, 5 of my listings did not have accepted offers on Friday. So we want people also to be engaged, even if they lose. Because if we lose that first person, we want more people to go back to. Because in New York, nothing is binding until, I don't know how it works here. Is it binding when you make the offer?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So ours is the Wild West. You get an accepted offer, the attorneys do due diligence, negotiate the contract. Only when the due diligence is done, both parties sign the contract and wire it. So for that week, for that 10 days, it's good faith, but not everybody acts in good faith. I think New York City has some of the nicest people in the world, honestly. But it's a lot of money. And somebody has 2 million and somebody else comes in at 2.2. A lot of times they change their mind, right? So, you know, we want backup, we want things to move quickly, and we want people to feel comfortable. So remember I said don't lie? There's one time and I'll tell you, there's one time in a real estate transaction I lie, and I lie every time. So there's multiple parties in investment, right? The highest person could have been 2.6. Second person could have been 1.9. But I always call the agent and say, you are so good. Just won. Because I want them to think that they won means they blew everybody out of the water. And just as a relative term, so not really lying. you know, stretching. I was gonna say embellishing, but stretching.
Stopping.
Yeah. So I'm massaging because I don't want that person to think, oh my God, I went one because I blew everybody out of the water because I'm stupid. Right? Again, we want people in this, at least in that case, we want them to think they're a smart guy. So we're going to negotiate with everybody, we can skip. Negotiation begins on first contact. We talked about that before. Every single time I pick up the phone, I know that I'm in a negotiation. Because every single person that you talk to, everybody that makes an appointment, there's a chance that they're going to be the person that you're negotiating with on that property. Why would you not start the negotiation then? Right? You want to start to the breadcrumbs. So when people make the appointment, well, as I'm sure you saw, the $800,000 doesn't really invest into this, right? Because I don't know who the person I'm going to negotiate with. I treat everybody like the person I'm going to negotiate with. And then again, with clients, you are negotiating right away. What are you negotiating? You're first and foremost, you're negotiating your value. You're negotiating information out of them so that you can align your strategy with their goals. You're removing negatives because there are negatives in real estate transaction. We don't want them to be surprised. And then you show them the roadmap, you set expectations. If you do that with every single person you talk to, you're going to have a hell of a lot higher success rate than if you wait. You wait for something bad to happen and then you talk about it and you're going to work with somebody else, right? You're going to fire them. Or you're going to be the person that has the $2 million listing for 6 months, and then the next person gets it for 1.8 and sells it. That sucks. You don't want that. So you let them go. Like, this is what the market data is showing us. However, I understand that you want to try a more aggressive pricing strategy. However, there's nothing that kills value of property more than days on market. So what I want to do is I want to protect you from yourself. I'm willing to, do your strategy at 2 million, but I don't want you to do it at your own peril. So if we don't get an accepted offer within 30 days, let's adjust to my price, please, because ideally we get above the price that I'm putting on it. Because again, we don't place it in a vacuum. Markets are dynamic. All of a sudden, there might not be competition, and you might get that 2 million. But based on today, the value is around 1.8. I'm totally fine with buying it, and we can't do it for more than 30 days. They love that. We're working together, and I'm setting an expectation, right? There's another reason I don't give people exact prices. So I don't want their brother-in-law to list the property at the price that I give. So I never give a price at a listing. I give an understanding, the market, an understanding of the price environment that they're in, and a strategy for getting the top dollar. I never give an exact price. Learned that lesson too many times when the brother-in-law or sister-in-law listing the property at my exact price. And it was like a complicated property. My price was very specific to me understanding the building dynamics, whatever it is. And they listed for 2.7, not the exact number that I said, just random. So I tell people, we're not listing the property today. Markets are dynamic, so price has to remain fluid. We list against the competition that's on the market when we work, right? Because if your apartment's 725 from an 18B right now, and we're listed at 4.2 million. Right before we hit the market, 9B, which doesn't have the view, doesn't have the outdoor space, went on the market at 4.15. I had told them that we should wait and see the price between 4 and 4.2. When that guy listed at 4.15, that benefited us because it pushed the price. But if somebody came from the market where 18B and 19B came on the market at 3.9, you can't price at 4.2. So you have to be able to explain to people that there is a bit of fluidity. And if you have a bottom number and the market doesn't mirror that number, maybe we have a different strategy. Maybe it's rent. I don't want people to think that I'm just, we'll throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. I want to be your consultant, your advisor, and properly advise you. Because you don't want to come to the market and just have all these lower prices, not sell, and then you've got this bad history of being on market for 2 years. So we have to be a little bit open as to what we're going to list. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to price you down. It may price you up. but it's got to be in context with the market as well. If you start having that conversation with the clients, first of all, you don't have to give them a number that can be used against you. And second of all, if something does happen that your price doesn't make sense, they've already heard of it, right? They understand that you're not pricing it back. Just because the same house sold 6 months ago, and I hate sold comps. I like in contract comps. Sold comps, yeah, they sold 6 months ago, but when did they go into contract? 3 months before that. That's 9-month-old data. I like to look at what number made something go into contract. It doesn't mean it's the number that's going to sell at, but the contract signed price is, there's no lag. It is right now indicator.
Does it tell you what a contract at?
I can see that.
You can.
Oh, no.
Figure it out.
No.
Okay.
I don't know what's going to close it. However, one of my numbers that I have the data analytics company do is average discount from ask for a market segment. So right now, let's just say Chelsea, 2-bedroom co-ops, the average listing discount is 3.7%. We assume that every listing that's in contract has a 3.7% discount. However, also in a buyer's market, I'm going to price in that 3.7% discount above my value. Because if everybody's expecting 3.7% off, might as well put the 3.7 on the top and have them get to the number that we want anyway, right? So it's really important to know your data and to start negotiating for value. Real estate transactions should seem amicable, like everybody's my friend. You want these people to be co-conspirators with you. I'm not giving them any information. I'm not working for them, but I'm telling them, I've got a buyer. This is where we see value. He's a savvy buyer. He's going to transact where there's value. I understand that you have this property that's a little overpriced, and I'm sorry that happened to you. But this is where we can get this done. We'll get this done. You know, everybody wants this to get done, right? So I am being their buddy, but I'm being their buddy for my foot. That's my fiduciary responsibility. It's that, not these guys, right? So talk about this. So this is my favorite thing. I love making offers for buyers, right? So I talk to my buyers before we make the offer, and we talk about how I think the negotiation is going to play out. So I set the stage for the negotiation. So I put a cover letter on our standard offer sheet, and our cover letter, and a paragraph on top, and the highlights of the offer, the most important pieces, are in bold. The offer is 195, 30% down, contingent on financing, close April 31st. Is there 30? No, 30 days. 30th, April 30th. And their debt to income ratio is 17%, and their post-close liquidity is $3 million. You guys don't use that segment. That's for our co-ops. So why do I put that on the top of the offer that I'm not emailing over? I'm picking up the phone and calling. As soon as they get on the phone, I say, "Do you have a moment?" And they say yes. Then I press it. So did you see the offer I just sent over? They're like, "No, let me check." Oh, it's right on top. It's the top thing on my inbox. Wow, surprisingly. They open it up. 99 out of 100 times when they do, they read me that first paragraph. Why do I want them on the phone? Because I want their unvarnished reaction to each of those things that's involved. They'll say, okay, you're offered 195, 38% down, contingent on financing. Like, I'll hear the contingent on financing is the issue. Remember, I have a way to solve for that. Or 1.95 million. And I can go to my seller and I can say, well, for my buyer, it seems like they're okay with the mortgage contingency. It seems like they're okay with the closing time frame. It seems like they're okay with the percent down. What it doesn't seem like they're okay with is the number. We were prepared for that, right? We already talked about that. So I have that information, and now we know what we don't have to negotiate on, because I heard it directly from the horse's mouth, unvarnished. They're straight off the hip reaction, right? as opposed to letting it marinate, letting them have a conversation with their seller, let them think about how they want to respond. Guess what? I don't press send and they say, oh, I'm driving right now. I'm like, you know what? Pay attention to the road. I'll call you back later. Or call me when you can, right? Then I'll press send. I never want that offer to be in their hands for more than 3 seconds, right? So that's a very good thing that maybe you start doing. What do you do when you get it offer? There's so many agents. I don't want to be ageist, especially some of the younger ones are so afraid of the phone, right? It's just texts, it's just emails, and I don't get any information, right? So what do I do when I get an email or a text? My text offer, I can respond to it. But if I get an email offer and I haven't had a conversation with them, I call them, they don't pick up. I call them, they don't pick up. I text them. Before I pass this offer along to my seller, there's a couple of things I want to go over it with you for clarification purposes. Guess what happens? 30 seconds later, my phone rings. And then what do I do? I say, 1.95 billion, interesting. I press mute on my phone. I don't unmute until they say something. And what do they say? One of two things. Well, maybe that's, but one of two things. One of them is it's an opening offer. You know, they understand it's low, but if you can get us a counter, I think we can do something. That's good information. Sometimes the information after 10 seconds of awkward silence is we have offers on 5 other properties. They are looking for value. They are looking to make money off of this, essentially. If your seller is not the person, they're somebody else. And then I get to call my seller and I say, I know you wanted 195. They came in at 171. I don't think we're going to get them up to 185, 1,875, which is what we're talking about. We may get them up to 1,775. These are investors, they're just making offers all over the place. However, I know through our conversations, you're getting really antsy and you want to be in Florida. I can't guarantee that this is, I can't guarantee of another offer around the corner. We can certainly let these people go and try to get you a higher number, but these are investors that are real. If you want to take this now, I know what is most important to you is what comes next. That's why it's good to understand motivation and goals. Because nobody's taking the money from the sale of real estate and putting it under their bed. Oftentimes there's a better opportunity or urgent opportunity or urgent need, or it's, a business that needs support, whatever it is. You understand the whole sort of map of what's going on with them, then you can have this funny conversation. And you can say, I'm not telling you to take 1.75. I just don't know when that next offer is coming. And I don't know if it's higher. Obviously, we're going to try to get higher. However, if you want this now, this is what we have now, right? But I was able to extract information so that I can have an intelligent conversation with them. We're not just in the dark guessing what the other side's going to do, right? Because most real estate agents, they just take the email, call their client, and they come back. And guess what? I'm working with an investor. My investor doesn't have time for you to come down $20,000. They've already moved on, right? So it's really important to understand who you're negotiating. It's like 101. The first thing is to understand who you're negotiating. Receiving offers from a seller, just did that. Seller's market strategies, I'll talk pricing real quick. So remember, we were talking about the average listing discount for neighborhood 3.7%. In a buyer's market, let's say it's worth $1 million, I would put that 3.7 of it. In a seller's market, with underprice by about 3%, and in a neutral market, I would price it, right? But in a seller's market, it's very easy to get a seller, right? So we almost don't even have to talk about that. You're going to get a lot of offers. You just have to know how to handle it. The way you handle it is by saying level of interest. If not, we have 10 offers. You're not trying to scare people away. But the hard position is to be the buyer in the seller's market, right? To be the agent for the buyer. A lot of people begin their butts kicked for the past couple of years, right? Looking at buyers. How many offers have you guys seen on properties with maybe it's slowing down now, but was it 10, 20, 30? Okay, so how do you win? How do you win? First of all, be friendly agent. Ask them for information. If you're friendly, if you're respectful, if you're show that you're doing this collaboratively in order to get them the most money, right? Like help me help you, right? So I'm trying to get that information, but also the more important thing is understanding my buyer. So this just happened. Brooklyn is on fire. So happy I bought in Brooklyn 2 years ago. Moved out of Manhattan. Manhattan is stuck. And Brooklyn is like probably made 20% on my property in 2 years. Like Brooklyn is on fire. So I had a client whose children I just sold a property in Clinton Hill. Then she sold her place in Philadelphia. They're not Philly, Royalsville. Sold her place in New Hope, and then wanted to buy a place between her 2 sets of children and 2 sets of grandkids. That was Park Slope. Park Slope and Williamsburg, where I live, are the 2 most competitive markets in New York City. By everything in Park Slope is going above ask. It's crazy. So she was a cash buyer. She wanted a property. She went like 7% above ask, and she didn't get it, right? So the next time that there was something she really liked, I'm glad she didn't get the first one because the next one she did get was so much nicer, just a better value. I said to her, her name was Ruth. I said, Ruth, how long are you going to be in this property? She said, I'm going to be in this property until I die. And I said, well, she's like 70. I was like, well, that's at least 20 years, right? So what we talked about was average appreciation. We didn't talk about the value of the property. What we talked about was average appreciation. Average appreciation, called 4% per year. That's 80%, right? Property was asking 1.25 million. We said that we saw value up to 1.35, but she paid 143, and she got it. What did she do? She traded 2 years of future equity. So what is she getting? She's getting 18 years of appreciation instead of 20. So we talked about where are you willing to trade today to get a property that you're both for 20 years. That conversation goes differently with somebody who's going to be in property for 3 years. Then they've got to lose out on properties where it's going much over ask, right? But if you're going to be there, you're raising your family, or you're retired, and this is going to be your forever home, you can talk about trading future equity. And if you put it in those terms, people will understand that they're not overpaying. They're giving up 2 years of appreciation, future appreciation. And it makes people think about it differently, and they don't think that they're overpaying. I mean, that doesn't work for everyone. You have to be willing to be in property for a long time, but you're not overpaying, you're trading, right? You're trading 2 future years of appreciation. That's it, right? Or 1 future year of appreciation. And you get 19 years of appreciation instead of 20, right? And people are like, yeah, why wouldn't I take 19 years of appreciation? And that puts them in a position where they can, right? It doesn't work for everyone. If somebody is going to be there 3, 4 years, what you got to do is before you start negotiating, you have a conversation, you see where you guys agree that the value exists for that property, and you go up to that. And if you don't get it, you go to something else, right? It's only when someone's time horizon is long that you can talk about trading. So, buyer's market strategies. When you're a seller, price that little bit above. We just like to be nimble, and you have to price with a conversation with your client about an immediate price reduction. You don't want the stink of days on market. Mr. or Mrs. Seller, let's do this. In 2 weeks, we don't have an accepted offer, 5% reduction. I never discuss price reductions under 5%. Otherwise, you're doing 2 or 3 price reductions. Let's get ahead of it. It's 5%, right? That's what moves the needle, 5%. So you're a buyer in a buyer's market. What do? You lick your chips. But what do? I mean, you don't come in. This is my strategy. Other people do it differently. In a buyer's market, I come in very close where I want to be, where I want to be. It's asking 1.6. We want it for 1.5. Coming in at 147. We're not coming in at 1.4 trying to split the difference. because it's a buyer's market. I've got power, so I want to come in close and then say, this is where he sees value, get it done. And then they come back and I say, you know what? I was able to beat him up. I got him to 1.5, but we are not transacting 1.5. We know the market. She knows the market. This is where we're willing to transact. We're going to life around here. You know 1.5 is incredible, right? That's the co-conspirator. I'm telling you, life around money. You're going to be marketing this probably for the next 3 months. We both know that, right? So that's buyer strategy. Mission we talked about. Mission should only be talked about as a marketing. Never talk about I do this, I do that, I deserve to get paid. I know. Just came back from Gary's mastermind where he said, if you're not using a menu, you're an idiot. But he also told me he hated my business. So, yeah, he told me he did not envy my business, that I'm skating on a razor's edge. Because I had a meeting with him after I just lost a $19.5 million accepted offer from buyer money to buy. Developer was paying 5% commission on $19.5 million. And I woke up in the morning to a WhatsApp, Seth, my father has decided to reallocate resources elsewhere. So, but some people talk about the menu, and this is what I do, and this is how I deserve to get paid. I talk about commission as a tool to help you achieve the most money. And that's it. This is marketing. I'm paying for the photos because I believe having good photos gets you the most money. You're paying commission because having good commission gets you the most money. Everything we're doing is to get you the most money. Why is that important to me? A, because I'm your consultant and advisor, but B, because I'm going to leverage your success into more business. I do not hide my self-interest because my self-interest is aligned with yours, right? If my self-interest wasn't aligned with yours, then why would I talk about it? But of course, I want to sell their property for the most money, right? That's how you get more business, by showing success, right? So local expert. This is my favorite. You guys have time? Yeah. So this is my favorite. This is not the sheet that I bring with me on every listing appointment. This is the one that I bring on every negotiation class. It's in battery. But I bring this on every listing presentation I go. So I'll tell you a little backstory. So this is Gramercy. This is a building that I've sold in several times, but there is a woman in there, the lady who has been selling 95% of the building for the last 40 years. She is the gatekeeper front end, right? She makes it real tough to get into that building and threatens the sellers that the co-op board is not going to pass your thing. Only I know how to get it through the yes. I can get anybody new anything. Because we vet, we analyze, and we coach, right? So she is the gatekeeper of this building. But my aunt owned an art gallery in Chelsea for 40 years in Manhattan. This 96-year-old guy at the time was the seller. He had probably been responsible for my aunt retiring because every piece of his 1,600 square foot apartment was covered in art and there was sculptures everywhere. It's like, no wonder she retired. This guy. So he was 96 years old. I walked in, his daughter, she's actually one of Woody Allen's producers. So she's kind of a cool, interesting woman. But she pulled me aside right away. She was like, you're here to humor your aunt. She's like, he's using like, I was like, well, I figured he was talking to the lady. She talks to everybody, right? I said, but before I go, wouldn't she tell you your property was worth? And he's sitting there, 96 years old, this guy cared about every dollar. I mean, more so than younger people I met. But I found out later he was moving to Arizona to be with his girlfriend. 96 years old. I mean, I have a lot going on at 96. So this apartment not only was a lane getting the listing, but the ceiling was painted dark gray. All the walls were painted burgundy. You could not walk through the apartment. And he told me, I'm not doing anything to this. And Elaine told me I was like, yeah, because Elaine told you you're gonna get 1.4. In the condition that it's in right now, you can get 1.5. I am not the building expert. I am the market expert. I know what's going on in the entirety of the market. I can contextualize value to people that aren't just looking at your building. I'm not tied to the most recent comps. I don't price in a vacuum. I price against competition. I'm going to be able to help you achieve the most money in the market, not just be tied to the most recent comps. She told you 1.4 because it's like 1.4. A lot has happened since that. There's a lot happening. However, if you don't want to keep it in this exact condition, I'm willing to come in and work with your super to declutter this apartment, and I can get you probably a $12,000 pay job. It's going to net you $200,000. If you think this place, I think you can get 1.6. Next day, I get a call. My father wants 1.6. He's going to paint. He's going to do. So we're about to list at 1.6. I go online. There is not another 2-bedroom in Gramercy, and this was high floor, under $2 million. So I called the daughter and I said, I want to price this at 1.7. And she said, Seth, I've been buying and selling real estate and real estate agents for over 30 years. Nobody's ever called me to raise the price. I said, well, now this is the first. So we listed at 1.7 because there was no competition. Remember, like, you're pricing against competition. There's no competition you can push. You were the only one in that neighborhood. We also had Endless Views, which went to Long Island, but you never know it the first time you walk in. It was a cave. So first open house showing, Elaine comes in with a buyer in front of everybody. She goes, this is so overpriced it will never sell. I said, Elaine, nice to see you again. Thanks for bringing it. So Elaine leaves. Thank God the person that did wind up buying it came after she. He was working at Google. He just had his second kid. They needed a bigger property and they wanted a renovation project. This was perfect. They wanted to be in Gramercy. Guess what? Only one. So he came to that open house, became without his agent, made an appointment to come back with his agent. So while he's looking, I pulled his agent aside. I said, I'm interested in this place. Let me know if this guy wants it. I can help you get. Talks to his buyer, they come over. Buyer says, how do we get this? They said, if you get me 175 today, I will get this done. Got 175 cash. We closed, wrote a handwritten letter to Elaine thanking her for coming to come. So why do I take this on every presentation I go on? Because commission, pricing, expertise, local expert, don't hire a local expert. That person doesn't know anything except that building. The buyer is not just looking in Gramercy. The buyer might not be just looking in Manhattan. They might be looking in Brooklyn. You want somebody that understands the value and the context between different neighborhoods and different buildings, right? Otherwise, I'm just tied to a comp. And guess what? If I'm just tied to a comp, why don't you sell this thing yourself? Why would you even hire them? You know the comp. You know what just right? You take pictures, right? Or hire me, right? Or hire me. There's a reason I'm here. You value my expertise. But what I want to tell you is my expertise is wide. And that's going to help me extract the most value out of buyers that are not just looking at your staging. A lot of people don't want to stage. Guess what? $350,000 more than maybe's going to get them for an $11,000 paycheck. Difference between 1.75 and 1.4 is 25%. I got this guy 25% more by not being the building expert and for getting the $11,000 paycheck, right? So these are easy for me. I think this is the hardest, right? Would everybody agree? This is probably the hardest thing to overcome. Guess what? It's the easiest. I was kidding. So I wanted everybody to say it's the hardest. This is the easiest. It's so easy. Allison, oh, it's really bad. Gotta keep in real estate. You feel the need to use them. I could totally empathize. I have family members that I don't want to use for things either, and it's a conflict. There's a reason that I'm here. It wasn't really because of owning the gym concept. I'm here because I'm the expert, right? Because you feel an obligation. So I look together, we can create a solution. I work by referral and publish. People around the country give me business and I pay them 25%. Guess what? 50% of my business, this is true. 50% of my business is referred to me by Keller Williams agents from around the country. So what I'm going to do and what I'm going to suggest is we pay them 25% commission. But what I also suggest is that I mentor them and show them what I do throughout the business. Why do I do that? Because now they really want to use that person. Because I'm the one that's going to mentor and show them how to do this. But I started by saying, you didn't bring me over here to tell me that you're a concept. I'm here because I'm an agent. Right? Say that every freaking time. They might be talking to 10 agents, but nobody else said, I'm the agent you want. Right? 9 out of 10 times, I don't have to pay the referral fee either. They just say, you know what? Let's keep it simple, just you. I'll explain. But I'm showing them how I'm willing to do this. And I'm also demonstrating my expertise by my willingness to mentor. My willingness to mentor them pushes them down a little bit without me telling them. I never disparage agents. But breadcrumbing to use me, not to use them, right? This is competitive. There's not a ton of listings out there, right? If you lose every single one where somebody knows somebody, you're never going to get business. Everybody knows real estate agent, right? You go to a bar in New York City, there's probably 10 real estate agents there. Probably the same, right? A lot of real estate agents, somebody knows somebody. What you need to do is differentiate a journey of expert that they can, right? It's the confidence, and it's the language, and it's not disparaging anything. I didn't disparage anything. I said, of course you're talking to me. Lane's been doing business in here forever. Man, is she just kidding. She's been doing business in here forever. Of course you're gonna talk to her. What number did she say? Because I know what comp she's gonna use. And I know she's not looking at Oklahoma City, right? I'm looking at Oklahoma City because I work in Oklahoma City. She works with one building. This is how much she knows about New York City real estate, right? She might seem like the big fish in that building, but she is going to price by a company. We don't price exclusively by companies. Price against competition, and she doesn't know the competition, right? So that is easy. Yeah, kind of easy. Really easy. Kind of easy, right? I mean, commission, like, we just listed a $10 million townhome last week. I did not the commission that we got fines that are willing to die on that for that price. But in certain price points, I tell them, I never tell people what to do. I also sometimes tell people if I was selling my own home, I would offer the buyer's agent 4%. But I know you don't want to do that. You're not going to do that, right? So I think 3% is when I tell them 4% is what you should do, let them negotiate the back, right? I would buy broker's commission on my property if I'm selling it. Why not? You're going to get it back, right? The more you offer, the more competition you're going to get, the more competition there is. So tell them you suggest a number that's higher than you're actually trying to get. And then tell them they know you're not going to do it. But it's what I would do, right? And then they find the middle ground, which is what you want to do. Does that make sense? Is there anything more? You know, people do this. Yeah, and then the other side is going to thank you at the end, even though you can't put the fun if you do this right. I promise you, like, I've been so shocked at the end of I haven't been to a closing in 4 years. And I used to go to every single closing. I used COVID as an excuse never to go back to the closing. But I used to get thanked at the end of the closing. Thank you so much. Like, this was such a win for everybody. I'm like, yeah, we were happy. But I'm glad you're happy. So we did it the right way, right? Come on in the water. always negotiate, come on in the large one. And I think I got that wrong. Between allergies and driving through the monsoon to get here, I'm like, did I get it all? But I think I got it all. If you guys want to ask some questions, if not,
Here's a question on chat. I just want to.
we met in Vegas, right?
Oh,
With Allison.
yeah.
I think you're right.
Oh my God, yeah. So I have a selfish question. I have a listing where they came in 24,000 below, we countered them. 600,000, anyway, my seller only came down slightly, and the buyer agent, they were just like, we're not gonna counter.
Okay.
And I'm like,
I totally understand. Totally understand it. Counter. My seller understands the value of their home. My seller understands that there's another buyer around the corner. The fact that they're willing to come down a little bit is just more of a courtesy. I'd love to get the deal for you. You know that this is worth it. Thanks. You're involved, you're right.
I feel like I try to genuinely.
They tell people.
And I'm
Just kidding.
it's just bizarre.
No,
It's like, he doesn't wanna hang.
okay, so asking 600, they came in at 576. They came in at 576. People.
No, they came in at 6.
Oh, so 624 is the asking price. Okay. So then you go.
So they sell out.
Then you go to your seller and you say, there might be another buyer around the corner. However, through my conversation, I extracted that we're not going to get another level of number for this person. I'm not saying you should take this, but we have the bird in the hand. It's a good number, not the best. We could wait for the best number. We also may not get it. So I'd like for you to think about it and let me know if there's any information that I can get to help you make that decision. Right? Put it back on that. You're not going to force them to sell. It's just, you know, this is what we have. We may not get something better. We may. Like, you know, there may be a better offer on,
Yeah.
but I can't guarantee that. So what I'd like for you to do is think about whether or not it makes sense for you to sell this number. Otherwise, we just keep doing what we're doing and we're trying to find that better buyer. Right? But it's not guaranteed that there's a better one. And then they have to make that decision. You don't always get a number that you want. This when sellers want such crazy numbers, right? And I work with crazy people, right? Like who are delusional and they believe that their property is worth something, and I will take really overpriced listings. I don't think that there's a chance of selling them. But I do take some overpriced listings with the expectation that we're going to lower the price. And that's where you get ahead of a situation like this, is if you thought it was worth 600 in the beginning, you know, listed at 640. But if we don't get an accepted offer in 21 days, let's go to the price that I think it is, right? This gives us a chance to get higher than I think the market bears. But let's come back to reality soon before we this extension. One of these, right?
I think I've said it before, but I think it's use the verbiage that you say when you have multiple offers and you're not providing the insight to buyer's agent. What is the verbiage that you use even for no offers? So
If somebody says to me, do you have offers? At the moment, we do not. Back from multiple showings, there's an incredible amount of interest, and it's just a matter of time. I've been doing this a long time. I know we're about to get offers. We're about to get a bunch of. But again, but then that's the creating urgency for something that's changed. We did a price reduction, and now X. We staged and painted and did some minor repairs, and now X. We had a tenant in place that was giving us a lot of trouble getting in for access. They're gone, and now X, right? something has changed. Just figure out what has changed, and then that's the story. You know, it's all storytelling, and it should be true, right? But you're not telling every story. You're telling story. You're sticking to your talking points, right?
You also have a question in the chat.
Just for that.
Oh, boy, Vin's question.
I used to live in Hell's Kitchen. Second homes, they just preferred one for one client to agent in New York City, and he's under contract with the chief medical officer. Yeah, we always do interview prep with our clients. We tell them based on their application, what questions are going to be concerns for the call. So again, it's getting ahead of the potential negatives before they get brought up and setting expectations. So the real estate agent should know what potential issues that are would have the applicants and get ahead of it in practice.
His fairness and equity questions quite interesting.
They're not allowed to discriminate. Does it mean they don't? No, because they don't tell you why they turned somebody down. I've had only 5 call board rejections in 21 years. Only one of them was financial. And we knew it was going to be a problem. The number was so good and the market was so good that me and the seller decided to push them through. And then we could get somebody else easily. And we actually got somebody else after the board rejection higher. So that one was fine. The other 4 were personality based, I believe. And one of them I had house on Park Avenue. And the guy had $40 million cash already hidden on the road, actually closing on this property. Cash. Like meaning stocks, bonds, cash, 40 million. And he got a board rejection. I was shocked. I went to the doorman know everything. To have secrets, go to a doorman building. I did a lot of business in the Paul Newman's former building in some place. There was a doorman, Charlie, that used to be like, see that guy came home with a woman that wasn't his wife last night, and like, he took it just but it turned out that one of the guys on the board used to live in this guy's building on Fifth Avenue and he did. So I mean, that's very specific, has nothing to do with us in this room, but you can't get anything that's not going to be not liked, but at least you have to prepare them how to answer the questions.
That was a great presentation. The question for you is what are some of your techniques to deal with the internal stresses of some of the deals?
Yeah, drugs and all. Just kidding. Kidding. It's a joke. I go to the gym every day. I got tea. I eat well. I get sleep. I have a big picture of my job. I get caught up in transactions because I know transactions are hard. I know buyers are going to not buy. I know sellers are going to decide after the month get something for 4 months that they're, you know what, we're going to stay. If you go up and down with the wave, you're going to crush. Like, it's not a get rich scheme in real estate. This is career. That you can do the right thing for people over and over again. And sometimes that doesn't benefit you. If you keep doing the right thing over and over and over again for people, your business is going to grow. And it's going to grow like wildfire. If you keep doing the right things for people, they keep recommending you to their friends and neighbors and coworkers, and their neighbors will hire you too. So it's all, yes. I go to the gym every single day. I sit in a sauna it's all really I understand it works something it's business, right? But it's more important that you have a huge perspective. This market is fluctuating, but so was 2009, and in New York City, so was 2019. You're not going to tax change, nobody has that something. Then 2020, the market was just taking off, right? Like, did we ever cut the break? Guess what? I knew it was around the corner. A good one, right? 2021, 2022, we made a lot of money. that made up for 2019 stuff, right? It made up for it, and I know that over time, there's a lot of pressure for just getting into the business, you don't want to save, and every deal means pay your rent, and that's what's tough. And that's why I recommend new agents get on the team. It's the low-hanging fruit, you know, that'll help sustain you. Or come into real estate and savings. You know, 6 months of savings. I've been people that get into real estate that do it alone and have to be savings. And that's just about it. Right? I think you probably want to get on a team and get paid for some showings or something just to get your start. Yeah.
You ever heard of the disc profile?
Yeah.
Do you base your strategy based on like who's in front of you, their personality?
Yeah, 100%. But I don't think the disc. They don't fill out a personality report for me before I get there. But I know most of my clients are off the charts Ds. You know, finance guys are the majority of my business. Finance, women, finance, men. Lawyers, a lot of them are big Ds. And I am off the charts D, but I'm also off the charts I. So I have that interpersonal ability to read people very quickly. But I would say you'll learn very quickly if people want to talk about numbers. Guess what they do? Talk about numbers. People glaze over when you're talking about numbers. Talk about how rewarding you're going to be in the business. Right? Like, I know that I've got a lot of data here. We can go over it, but if you don't want to go over the data, I just want you to know that I'm going to go over the data. I'm going to maximize the result for you, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be rewarding. It's going to be fun. This is not going to be, you know, something that is going to be stressful because I'm going to take that away from you, right? I walk in, and so I just won a $4.2 million and a $2 million from the same seller in a building. Number 3 agent at Corcoran lives in that. How did I win? Two ways. They've got the special needs kid. They've got a couple other kids, and I talked about how easy I was going to make the process for them and respectful I'm going to be, and this is on your terms, right? We have people come look at the property, obviously when it's okay for you. So I'm understanding that their motivation involves that kid. They do have the goal of selling it for the most money. So how did I talk about that goal? So I understand that this person who lives in the building was the seller's agent when you bought. How many times did you see the property? Oh, 3 times? How many times did you meet him? Oh, never? Well, the difference is when you hire him, you get it. Guess what? I know the person on his team so well that I'm going to her wedding internationally next year. So I know that she's the one that shows the properties, right? And do your homework, you understand. So I knew that I was going to be able, because I know how his team works. He never shows the property. I just beat Ryan Serhat out for a townhouse we haven't listed yet for the same thing. Like, he was the seller's agent when they bought. And I said, oh, how many times did you interact with him? Oh, it was just this person on his team that you didn't think had too much knowledge. Guess what? Not only do I have a team, so you get all the support, all the admin, all the marketing, but I'm going to be the person that shows you. And that's, you know, aligning with that motivation. And everybody's different. So some people it's just numbers, those are the D's. Like, what are you going to do? We're going to make it the most money, right? And then some people, like, I don't even know what the S&C stand for. It's none of it. What do they stand for? I'm teasing. I don't know what they stand for. But those people, you kind of walk them through the path. This is what we're going to do. This, and we're going to do this. Those people are actually going to pull out a presentation and go through. The D's, they don't want a presentation. Like, I bring my iPad, like, just to show them that there's a bunch of paintings. And then I talk to them. And then I ask them if they want to talk about market, pricing, you know, sequence, what do you want to talk about? Right? I'm not going to necessarily do the same thing for some super detail oriented. I'm going to go through every page with them. I just the one I told you about where I got 4.2 and the 2 million for the same building for the same people. And even with my iPad out, the conversation was going so well. I don't walk in and say, this is my presentation and this is how I give it. This is my presentation of what parts of it I'm going to pull out for the personality type that I'm giving you. And some people, it's not fully out. Right? I would say about 20% of my listening appointments, I don't walk by that. Conversations going so long. I don't want to have a distraction, right? Like we're talking, I can tell they want to hire me. We've already talking about the future. Why am I going to pull out a distraction, right? So I'm different every year. I know. Thank God. I'm in Philly all day. I don't I did not join a team. I was in the business for 13 years before I formed a team. I don't think a team is for everybody. I also wouldn't join the first team you talk to. It's like getting married before dating, right? You don't know what you don't know until you've been in the industry. So I always tell people when they interview with me, why don't you try to align yourself with a few different teams, do some open houses, make a feel of who's who. Because you know what you don't know is a whole lot more than what you do know. So you might just walk into a bad marriage without knowing, right? And as someone who's done that, avoid that, right? Like you want to date, you want to know what's going on. Who I think you should join teams are people that maybe want to raise their level of production through leverage, through marketing. Remember I said before, if you don't have enough me and want to leverage the lead. I tell people on my team, there'll be some leads, there'll be some open house opportunities. But if that's why you're doing my team, please don't. You join the team because of my coaching, my mentoring, and my $1 billion worth of sales experience that you can take and use as your. That's your marketing. It's yours, right? That's the leverage that you should get into the team. But what I was saying before is if you came into this industry with $0, it takes time to cultivate business, and it takes time even when you get your first deal for it to close. I think people need to have 6 months worth of savings to come into this business, and if you don't, then you need to do something where you get paid by the show, by this or by that. That's what happened. But you know, team is for everybody. And sometimes it's just a little daycare. So you gotta be careful which team you got. My team's not a big. Okay. So yeah. Where's the camera? Oh. Strategy of dealing with high-end clients, like trying to get people yeah. Oh, guess what? Guess what? I understand you don't know this is the best time to talk. I totally understand that we need to what's wrong, right? It's a lot of people thinking for a while there was a recession now. People thought that interest rates were going to go down, or this or that. I was talking to people about opportunity cost, right? So they're not sure if this is the absolute best time to buy. However, as soon as it's the best time to buy, isn't everybody else going to buy? So what I found is that people that buy when other people aren't, push people around a little. And by pushing sellers around right now, you're going to get the benefit of what the future market may be today when you pick the litter of property. And something like, I'm always saying, I'm agree with that. It's not my money. That is right for you. Very easy for me to spend your money. It's what I'm making. Very easy to spend. Guess what? If it was my money, I'd be buying it. I understand it's your money. So I'm going to give you some tools to make a really good decision. And that decision might not be buying it. Right? I'm your advisor and consultant for life. I'm going to keep giving you really good information that's going to help you make a decision whenever it's right. You're never going to tell, especially a high net worth person, what to do. You got to give them the tools to make the best decision. And I've sold billionaire clients. I sold a property to the most famous movie wizard of all time. You're not telling these people what to do. Maybe they're supposed to make a decision. What's explaining what to do? So it's, you know, give people advice, you give them tools to make the right decision. But do you think you're going to convince people to do something that they don't want to do? It doesn't happen. You have to show them why it's that they probably should do, right? Or should do.
What was your most expensive sale?
Well, the 19.5 was the most expensive one to fall apart. My most expensive listing was an $18 million ticket book. The most expensive buyer was 10.1. Fives, fours, and stuff. But my bread and butter is 1 to 3. That's what I love as trades. Because my 1 to 3 is probably your 5 to 1 to 5. That's where things actually trade, right? So I actually want to get back to your question. How do you convince people? You don't. So I had a $3 million cash buyer. He just graduated from Cornell Law School. His parents were gifting him $3 million. It's good to be. I mean, my parents gave me a used Subaru once. So he got the $3 million from his parents. It was totally his decision what to do with it. He was just starting a job at a law firm. And while we were researching, he told me, you know what, I only think I'm going to be here for 2 years. I'm able to go back to California and get a job at a law firm there. I said, oh, so you want to be a landlord? I said, no, I want to sell this in 2 years. I said, do you know how much closing costs are on the front and back end in New York? It's like 2 years is not enough time horizon to guarantee that you're going to make money or even break even. Because it's about 10% front and back end. And average appreciation is 4%. You're probably going to have a little shortfall. I suggest you rent. Talk myself out of $90,000, right? But I did the right thing for him. 2 years later, he referred me a $400,000 buyer. She also went to an Ivy League law school. She did not have a parental help, so she was buying $400,000. I didn't give her to a team member because I believe in planting seeds that grow, and I knew that I was going to have the best chance of building a relationship with her, just because at the time maybe my team wasn't up to snuff to really relate to somebody at that level. But that's different, maybe different team. So I worked with her. She got a board rejection, 400,000. She said to me, Seth, please get me to a team member. I know that I'm not worth her team. I said, okay. And I said, I've gotten you this far up Mount Everest. I'm getting you to the top, right? So we closed this $400,000 property. This was 2016. In 2021, I closed about $20 million worth of friends. 20 million. 3 of her friends bought urban 13A, 20A, and 21A, and new development was paying 4% of about $3 million deals. She just closed on a $2 million property last year, but in total, I've closed about $80 million worth of business since 2016 that I could derive from this $400,000 buyer. So sometimes, you know, I mean, I always think you did the right thing by people, but sometimes when they don't buy, as long as you show them you cared and that you had their best interest, you might get a bunch of referrals. So again, it's not a get rich scheme, it's a career. And if you keep doing the right thing, you know, having exceptional results for people, you're going to win. If you keep doing the wrong thing, getting bad results, you're going to lose. You know?
You said it was an amazing percentage. For me, you said 97% of your business is referred.
That's client.
I think we always saw that's important. I guess it's what we're saying that we had in place that.
Yeah. I don't cold call. I don't advertise. I love on about 100. The most important 100 people are the people I love on. And then that's my past clients and my sphere business, which is about 50%. But over the last 8 years, I've built my business about 50% agent referrals because I speak at a lot of conferences. I do this, and I've really nurtured a lot of relationships in the industry. And I supply value for people, and I do that for my clients. Like I support their charities, but I don't. I'm a 10,000 person database. I don't support charities. How can I do that? But there's a certain amount of people that I know these are my, they're the trunk, right? Originally they were a seed, and then they become the trunk, and then they give me the referrals. So I don't have to talk to all the branches. I've got to stay in touch with the trunks. And the majority of my business, the first half of my business, I can trace to 3 people, and I loved on that for a long time. I still love them. Now I have more trunks.
And so, what would be your opinion, like, let's say you work with someone, what's typically like this year? You're such one to go, I guess, we can get your power to that.
Well, I tell them when you come to their sport meeting, because guess what? That's not very nice to their friends. Or be there. I give them a gift. Then I also make a donation to one of 6 charities that I support on their behalf, and they get to choose it for a review. So I always give reviews. And one of the charities that I support is the New York Foundation for the Arts. I was just asked to sit on their board because of years of doing this. So it's, I would have given a gift, or done something, but instead I'm doing it to a charity, and now I'm getting something. I'm also getting the review because nobody doesn't want me to make a donation on their behalf. They get a market update, at the very least, everybody gets a market update once a month. Or what I do is they're a past client. I know their birthdays, I know their interests, like one of my clients, New York Rangers fan, right? I'm gonna reach out when the Rangers just gone to the second round, right? Like I just know what they're interested in, and it's not always about real estate. And I tell people this all the time because I teach a breaking into luxury course. Commission rep is the worst rep. It propels high net worth people, right? So you don't go in and start talking about real estate when you're at a cocktail party, dinner party, wherever. It's going to come up. What do? You say, "Oh, in real estate," and they're going to say, "Well, how's the market?" Guess what? You don't know if they're a buyer or a seller yet. Why would you tell them how the market is? You don't know where they live. You don't know what they own or what they're trying to buy. There's never one market. There's like 50 markets at every given time. So I say, what do you mean? How's the market? How's which part of the market? And then you extract information from them. People just talk about their specific market as opposed to saying, oh, it's crazy, it's such a crazy seller's market right now. Okay, well, I'm a buyer, so I'll sit on the sideline. Oh, you're a buyer? There are different things happening in different neighborhoods, different price points, and different property types. I think it would be really important to sit down and discuss what your goals are and find a unique opportunity, because there are opportunities even in the context of this seller's market. Right? But close the door before it was open. If I just say, oh, it's a crazy seller's market. Yeah, but they want to buy something. Why do I want to not give them the opportunity to buy something if it's the right thing for them, right? You're going to scare people off if you just say, oh, it's a seller's market. Keep losing, because that was the property type, that was the place for me. Yeah. You guys good? Great. That's great. That's great. How many do you have in your team? We're a tiny team. We have 2 full-time admin, virtual admin, myself and one other senior agent, and 2 producing junior agents. But usually we're about 3 people in production. We could, the number 1 team in New York City for Walter Williams, who worked in the University of here. And we've been in the top 3 in New York State. We got our basements. Yeah, that's good. But we also, how to do the business. it's so important that you do right thing. There's nothing more than I can ask. I know, you missed the story where I taught somebody out of buying 3 million 2 years later, gave you a $400,000 withdrawal, and it's like $80 million of closings in the last 7 years. So, not a get rich scheme, career, then you do the right thing, right people.
Why for C2T every time?
What's that?
Why for C2T? Why?